Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Ramachandra, Jai Shri Lakshmi Narasimha. So today I'm going to talk about COVID-19 vaccines, corona vaccines, and is it a savior or are they needles of deceit? Is the COVID-19 really needed? According to me, certain vaccines with toxic ingredients can be very dangerous, and vaccines themselves are not necessary for most diseases, and some major companies are trying to add dangerous toxin ingredients to vaccines, and there's so many more beliefs and controversies and facts about vaccines. But again, leaving these aside for now, the first part of the video will discuss whether this disease really requires a COVID-19 vaccine or not. Regardless of our beliefs about COVID-19 vaccines and whether they are dangerous or not, let's first understand whether we really need them or not. The global population at the moment is 7.5 billion, and out of which 14 million have been infected with this novel coronavirus. Out of these 14 million people, according to official sero-survey research, we can multiply this 14 million by 10 times to say how many people have the virus in their nasopharyngeal swabs. So if you go and put a nasopharyngeal swab into any person, how many people are likely to have this virus could be multiplied by 10. And logic could say that all people almost in this world, except people in cut off from the world countries, have this virus in their throats. That means even me and you will have this virus, but our body has battled it without our knowledge and maybe even completed its story, finished its story. Or sometimes it might be still lingering in our throat, but we have no threat from this virus. And such cases are 14 million multiplied by 10. According to official results, it's 140 million people. Out of these 140 million people who have been expected to have COVID, who have not come to any health authority to test themselves as positive or negative, according to me, they are lucky people. But against that, I would also like to say that okay, now it's 140 million people, out of which it's just 700k which have died, and this could be kept as lesser than just 0.4%. But even if you just take the number of cases just tested, you could take it as 4% for the whole world. In India, it's lesser than 2.28% today for the global for India's population. But if you take the 10 times ratio that I talked about it, the fatality rate will reduce by 10 times, and that will come beneath 1%. That will come beneath 1%, could also come to 0.2%, such a small rate of deaths. Despite this, the media has taken over the world with so much fear, my dear friends, for just a disease that, according to the present information I gave, 0.2%, or even if you take it 2% of the people, that too with comorbidities, and that too because of the lack of sunshine, fresh air, and locked atmospheres. Just imagine a person sitting for 99% of their time for 5 months inside a small home, which is the condition of most Indians and most of the global population today, in crowded places and small homes. Despite all this, the fatality rate was only 0.2%. And if you compare this to previous pandemics, I'm going to show a lot of data here, so I'm backed completely by a lot of data, and you can also do your own research. But finally, it comes to 0.2% to 2%. And for such a small fatality rate, the media has hyped everything. They have kept on playing rotating viruses 24/7. And number two, they have locked people and scared. Even now, certain research shows that even though certain countries are letting people out, people are not stepping out voluntarily. They have been changed psychologically. Something called the creepy new normal is coming into picture, wherein people are scared of each other, people are staying inside, and they're scared of nature altogether. My new video is coming about nature and disconnection from nature, and how it could be disastrous for humanity itself. Connection to technology is increasing now. People are getting more connected to technology and disconnected from nature. This particular situation, according to me, is the reason for so many people dying. Second most reason is so many comorbidities, lesser immunity. even having all these reasons together, previous pandemics like the influenza pandemic and the previous SARS, there was no lockdown. The seasonal flu, there was no lockdown. More than 2.9 lakh people die every year due to the seasonal flu itself, and even 4.5 lakh people, that is 450k people, die every year due to seasonal flu. And coronavirus, just in this 1 year, according to official results, which have been morphed up, of course, have caused 700k. Even if you just remove even if you take the morphed up cases and also add in the comorbidities and everything else, it comes to 700k out of 14 million people, whereas there's so many pandemics who have come, and due to no lockdown, lesser people have died. The influenza pandemic, the previous SARS pandemic, and so many other pandemics did not have lockdowns, and therefore the fatality rate was lesser compared to the size of people infected. COVID-19 has not done so much harm, and that's what I'm trying to explain here. 0.2 million is the 0.2% is the only is the percentage of people who have died from COVID-19, actually speaking, according to official sources. If you would take the sero survey results also, a recent Delhi sero survey results showed that 1 in every 4 Delhi people, or you could say Delhiites, have contracted the coronavirus, according to the RT-PCR test, which is itself another controversy. But yet, even if we consider it perfect and scientific results prove it to be perfect, it could be 25% of Delhi's population, out of which only 0.08% have passed away till date, and that too adding all comorbidities. Now, comparing all these facts, my dear friends, of which I'm going to provide solid links, do we need a COVID-19 vaccine? And guess what? Across the world, according to Google Trends research, it is India that is praying for COVID-19 vaccines. Every other day, I see a person who's praying for COVID-19 vaccines. Not only that, if you just check Google Trends and check about vaccines, it is India that is ranking one of the top 20 countries in the world which is searching the most for COVID-19 vaccines, whereas the United States and the United States population have woken up to the reality about vaccines. So, if vaccines were important, if vaccines are not dangerous and there is no agenda behind them to control the population or anything else, number one, why did Bill Gates in 2010 TED talk about reducing population through vaccines? Number two, why would a vaccine be pushed so much for a disease that kills less than 0.2% of the population, or say 3% or 4%? Why would a vaccine be pushed for such a disease? That too with such a low spread rate. That too with so many lockdowns. Why would a vaccine be pushed? So there is surely an agenda behind this. To explore the agenda, we need to do a lot of research, but there is an agenda, otherwise this vaccine will not be pushed so much. How is it being pushed? Ethnic fights. For example, they're bringing in Parsi versus other religious groups. Just yesterday, the Serum Institute of India founder talked about giving 60,000 vaccines just to the Parsis. So now the whole population of India feels, oh my God, this vaccine is so important. So this businessman is ready to give so much more than enough to his own people. There's a gimmick. And second of all, the gimmick, there are many more gimmicks that are being played out. United States paying more money to grab the vaccines from the rest of the world, and so many countries fighting together for a vaccine, a race for the vaccine, and all people jumping up for the vaccine, and news channels talking about khush khabari, good news, new vaccines. Especially in India, it's rampant. I'm going to show you the data now for this. So Bill Gates is saying that the world needs as many as 14 billion doses of a coronavirus vaccine to stop the virus, and he is one of the biggest funders of the WHO, and his agenda from the very beginning is to depopulate the world, and he has expressed it clearly in his old videos. And not only that, we have him saying that it is he has spoken that there is no alternative other than a vaccine. But I would like to tell you all that vaccines are not necessary during this period, as shown by all these facts. And the alternatives I should explain now in some more time. And one more data is that the world is searching for the vaccine now, and we need to understand it more than just going behind it. No one is asking about the ingredients of the vaccine. Rather than that, we're asking about just the vaccine. The whole world is just searching about whether there'll be a vaccine or not. and the case fatality rate is rapidly moving down, and yet the race for the vaccine is going faster. Why? When a pandemic is going downwards, why are they taking it upwards by scaring people, locking people, and flashing the media with vaccine news? Here is the proof for indoor stay causes a lot of issues, including immune system going down, and vitamin D and also very less vitamin D exposure, and therefore it also tweaks the activity of the other immune cells such as B and T cells. Vitamin D is very important for us, and if that is not given to us, we may cause a lot of issues to our own immune system by staying inside home. So people who stay inside home can have a lot of respiratory issues, according to this article, which I will also be sharing with you all. So there's so much more, risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and early death. So many things can happen if we stay indoors for such a long time. And those who stay outdoors, those who are exposed to sunlight, those who venture outdoors, those who are exposed to sunlight, have a lesser mortality rate from most respiratory diseases, including influenza. And then this is the data to compare each one of the previous outbreaks and pandemics, and how. So, for example, 1918 influenza was a very powerful one. It spread. Global cases were 500 million. Global deaths were over 50 million, but the death rate was only around 2%, according to this article. And then we also have seasonal flu. Seasonal flu comes every year. It kills from 291,000 people to 646,000 people, and so again the death rate is just 0.1%, and SARS is having a death rate of 15%, the previous one, the 2002 to 2004 one, but yet there was no lockdown, and therefore it ended because of people staying at home. I believe that has increased the severity of the pandemic. And here we have the 2009 pandemic, wherein the death rate was 0.02%, the Ebola pandemic, wherein it was 50%, and the novel coronavirus, when it is just near 3.4%. And yet people are pushing vaccines which are not needed. So actual COVID-19 case count could be 6 to 24 times higher than official estimates. So the amount of 3.4 goes down to 0.34 if this is the case. That's the study from CDC. And not only that, we have studies from India, Sero survey from India, that also shows the same thing, saying that almost 1 in 4 Delhiites are already COVID-19 infected. So that also proves it. And then here is the world estimate. The confirmed COVID-19 cases multiplied by 10 is equal to 160 million, out of which deaths are only 652K. But even if you consider this amount, it still doesn't warrant for such a strange and horrible lockdown. And also vaccines are not needed again. India's coronavirus case fatality rate drops to 2.2%. Yet, according to me, these many people who have died in India due to hospital deaths, according to me, these deaths could have been averted. At least 50% of them could have been averted if we had taken care and strengthened immunity and stopped using ventilators unnecessarily, and also so many problems we could have avoided by giving turmeric and Ayurvedic medicines to COVID-19 patients and strengthening their respiratory system. Therefore, they could have recovered faster, and the fatality rate would have been lesser than 2.28, nearly 0.0008. That's all I guess it would be if we had adopted the right measures for the particular disease. And then comes the vaccine, and this is a very important article from the Telegraph UK about risk, uncertainty, and fear of failure. This happened again in 1976. A mysterious flu broke out in the northeastern United States, and then the President Gerald Ford, he was pushing a vaccine called Pandemrix, and that particular vaccine caused narcolepsy and also made people get this disease. And also a paralyzing syndrome, narcolepsy that creates drowsiness, etc., and so many more issues. And the present vaccine also could be dangerous in many ways. We need to ask the ingredients of each vaccine. We can't just go and get the shot done. We need to ask what is there. So finally, instead of all these vaccines, how to protect ourselves from any respiratory disease. COVID-19 is not the only one. There's so many more respiratory diseases. Number one, we need to connect to nature. We need to step out into uncrowded places. We need to expose ourselves to sunlight. We need to consume turmeric in a higher level, home ground turmeric, and amritavallari, which is called giloi. We need to do so many more things. I've explained this in my previous videos. We need to stop consuming junk food. If the government was so caring about us that they were pushing vaccines worth $750 billion across the world, so many governments are doing so much for us. If we really think that the governments are so good for us, dear friends, it's very important to understand that they should have banned alcohol. They should have banned junk food. They did not do any of these bans. They are just banning, entry of people and exit of people into places. They're banning people from coming out and, So they're banning people from coming out of their homes and getting into other places. So that isn't good for the citizens of the world. And then yet the vaccine race is going on. So we need to protect ourselves in different ways, and the present way is wrong. We do not need any vaccine, and that's the conclusion of this video. So I've shown a lot of data in this present video, and I would also like to say one more thing, that generally in videos which are packed with extremely powerful information, I generally, my mother shows me some comments which say, "Beta, tum school ja, go to school and learn something new, in science, etc." But I would like to tell you all one very important thing, that if you have any claim that is against what I've presented here, it should be backed by science and logic, just as how I have given it, and not some random statement just because that particular person is not able to understand what I'm speaking. So if any of you have anything against what I've spoken here, please provide the apt science and logic towards it as to why we all necessarily need COVID-19 vaccines, as Bill Gates has spoken in his blog post. So this is what I would like to say, and thank you. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Ramachandra, Jai Shri Lakshmi Narasimha.